welcome back to another video. So in this week's video, I want to talk about acne and recovery. I've gotten quite a few requests to talk about this, and I know because I went through a lot of acne breakouts, not only before when I was restricting, and even more as a teenager, and then even more so once I embarked on the recovery journey and all hell broke loose. So I want to talk about my experience, and then I also want to talk about what I did. Okay, so just take this as a guide though, because it's going to be different for everyone, like everything, right? You're finding your own balance and you're finding your own approach to these different areas, and everyone's different. Everyone has different causative factors and skin types and different reasonings that can contribute to their acne. So really just take this with a grain of salt. I'm just sharing my personal experience and also what I've seen with other people as well. So I tried all the dietary changes, first cutting out greasy processed foods, and then cutting out dairy, and then cutting out gluten, and then cutting out sugar, all with the hopes that something was the main contributing factor or cause to my breakouts, with no luck. So if this is you and you've tried everything and all sorts of diet tweaks and you still faced acne, or you were on the opposite side and your face kind of cleared up, and then once you went into recovery, then you have faced big breakouts, I can understand both sides, because mine got worse, and then it got better, and then it got worse, and then it got better, and then it got worse in recovery, and then it got better. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I am a certified esthetician, and if you're like, an what? An esthetician are the people who give facials and microdermabrasion treatments, skin peels, facial massages. They try to help you with your acne and that kind of stuff. Now, I initially wanted to become an esthetician to try to learn how to cure my acne, with, again, no luck, other than drinking more water from a fellow classmate, which did help in all areas of my life. And throughout my experience, especially as a hormonal teenager being on birth control, I had spent thousands of dollars on microdermabrasion treatments, chemical peels, Proactive, Clinique, and all sorts of expensive face washes and toners and moisturizers. Then after I went through school, my skin was still terrible. After I spent all that money, my skin was still terrible. I thought at one point that, like I was saying, if I started cutting foods, that's the next thing that I heard, that was going to cure my acne. That was going to help my skin. So even on all these different kinds of clean diets, I was still breaking out. Okay, so even on whole foods only, no dairy, no greasy foods, no processed foods, no sugar, no gluten, or even as a raw vegan, or even as a cooked vegan, or even as paleo, even as ketogenic, even as high carb, low fat, I was still breaking out. Even doing enemas and doing diet detoxes and intermittent fasting and water fasting, I only continued to break out even more. So even if my face did clear up, like briefly on a detox or a water fast, it was short-lived. And if I ever branched out and had any kind of food shortly thereafter, I was breaking out. And so also at one point in the clean eating escapade, a couple years in, the malnourishment got to a certain threshold from the restrictive disordered eating, and it shut down everything, okay, which in turn at all points of the escapade, except when I'd go back to fruitarian, my skin would clear up. But then when I took on recovery after my last 10-day water fast, my skin went berserk. So crazy, big and small, my cheeks, my forehead, my nose, my chest, my back, my stomach was all covered with tiny pimples. And in recovery, this is typically caused from hormones. Your hormones are all out of whack, and then when you're recovering, they're trying to turn back on and ramp up, and your body's trying to turn on the hormones and turn on all these other systems in your body, and things just go crazy. And typically, when your hormones are balancing out anyways, along with the balancing of recovery, things can get pretty crazy and you can break out really bad. And if I can remember correctly, this lasted for a few months or more, fluctuating between blotchiness, little bumps, big bumps, the hurtful bumps, rashes all over from head to toe. I got painful cysts, those underground pimples that are so painful. And I got those along my jawline. My skin also had like a combo of dry, oily. It was just the worst I'd ever experienced with my skin, even as from a teenager. And so now that my weight and my hormones are more stable, my cycle has returned and stayed here for a while. The crazy breakouts and the rashes, those have all mellowed out a lot. Not perfect, but that never was. Okay, so I get little pimples here and there. I get them around my cycle. I get them like a couple pimples, but it used to be so much worse. I would get a lot more and they would always be there. Just know that you're not alone dealing with acne or rashes in your early recovery. You know, I also had a major breakout when I first started diet recovery. I had a terrible rash from head to toe, like I was talking about. Literally my face, my back, my chest, my arms, even my stomach and parts of my thighs and my butt. It all broke out in a rash. And this is when I was starting to add in gluten and sugar again, and I started to try to blame the gluten and the sugar. And it didn't happen the first couple months either. So oddly enough, it came after a few months in my recovery. So the month or so after my period had finally returned. And I was binging, but only a couple months in did this massive breakout occur, which led me to think that it had something to do with my hormones balancing out, or the energy was restoring in my body enough, and so all the systems in my body were beginning to turn back on. Like a machine kind of, when it's been in idle or not in proper use, or greased up in years, it's a bit rusty, right? At first, having to work out some of the kinks and, balance out the flow and smoothness of its functioning. And a similar thing happens with the body, just at a much slower rate, because the body is so much more complex than a machine. So all I know is I kept going, even though I tried to, blame the food, specifically gluten and sugar, and, that I needed to restrict again. Even though my skin wasn't perfect during my dieting either, but it's like the brain forgets that or something. And there were the ups and downs, but I couldn't go a day without binging at that point. The hunger was too strong still. My body just wouldn't let me. So I kept eating all the foods. I was just like, screw this. I can't go back anymore. Like, I gotta do this. My body had taken over. So I kept eating all the foods, and eventually it did indeed go away. The rash went first, and then the big pimple breakouts later slowly started to go away as well. So that's a little bit about my story in short. And I can mention, a little bit more on the main well-known recommended actions, like changing your face pillow often, you're not sleeping on a dirty pillow, face mask with charcoal or tea tree oil or oats and honey, or, doing acupuncture. And I'm not against these things. They have their place if you want to do that. But remember that coming from a restrictive past, and disordered eating and overexercising and coming from the super stressed out state, you are in a different state physically than someone who's not coming from a restrictive past. So any of this may not even help you, right? And you just have to wait it out and ride the wave until your body heals and you nourish yourself and your hormones balance out. Just overall, everything balances out and calms down. And know that this happens to people at all ages, okay? It doesn't matter if you're coming from a past of restriction or malnourishment. You can literally feel like you're going through puberty again, okay? I felt like I was going through puberty again. But if you've tried all of these things with no luck, perhaps the next suggestions can help point you in the right direction to finding, through trial and error of your own, not through mine, what will work for you. And so I want to mention on lifestyle changes first, and then dietary changes later in the video. And then I'll show you my current routine, my personal skincare routine. don't get crazy on me. Oh my gosh, Kayla's gonna talk about dietary changes and restrictions and all that. Like, no, okay, it's not gonna be like that. But, you know, if there is a part of you that's like, I really don't like this food, and I know I just, like, my body just rejects this food altogether, just this one food in specific, and it's not my mind, it's my body, and I don't even like it, then why do you have to continue forcing yourself to consume something that does not serve you, right? That's okay. Remember, it's where the intentions are coming from. If it's coming from an eating disorder type intention of weight control or hating yourself or compulsiveness to exercise, to burn off calories, to, you know, keep a lean body, to, you know, think that it's going to make you more secure, those are the wrong intentions. If the intentions are, you know what, I just really don't like this food, I'm not going to have it, I'm not going to force myself to have something I don't want, just like I'm not going to restrict myself from having something I truly desperately want, right? Okay, so remember, it's where are your intentions coming from for every action or decision that you're going to take in your recovery. So the first thing to help with acne and overall just is the most beneficial in your recovery is going to be sleep. This is ultra important above everything. And when I'm going to bed super late, like at 2 or 3, and then getting up super early and not getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep or more a night, I break out. I start to break out. Or if I'm exhausted and I'm not sleeping well, or waking up like a million times throughout the night because I'm super stressed, or just not sleeping consistently. You know, I'm out traveling and just not sleeping a lot, and I'm tired and sleep deprived all the time. This can definitely cause breakouts too. So if you're stressed out in your recovery, you're just constantly stressed, you're not sleeping, this could be contributing to even acne recovery because you're still stressed out. If you're still over-exercising, you're not getting enough sleep, and you're just keeping your body in this high cortisol, super stressed out state, this can contribute to even more breakouts in your recovery, along with the already breakouts that happen naturally typically with the hormones balancing. So next is drinking a good amount of water. I still do drink a lot of water per day. I don't track how much I do. I don't carry around a gallon of water with me. It is still more than average, I'd say, because I know a lot of people that don't drink water ever. So it's more than average, I'd say, but it's not like a whole gallon of water every day. If you're not a water drinker, water is really important. The majority of our body is made up of water, so it really helps a lot with skin. And just like you need a lot of energy from food coming in recovery, you also need a lot of water coming in. Even if you're facing edema, you're coming from a dehydrated state from restricting and dieting, and your body needs a lot of water just as it needs a lot of food. And it needs salt to be able to balance out that water and actually utilize that water. Okay, so if you're having too much water and not enough salt or electrolytes, then you're just going to become electrolyte imbalanced, and that's not good either. Not to mention that salt really helps the adrenal glands, and adrenal glands help your stress levels. So make sure you're not on a low salt diet anymore. So from dieting, if you're coming from a dehydrated state, even if you were drinking gallons of water a day but on a low salt diet, you're still chronically dehydrated. And so your body holds on to a lot of water retention from getting too lean, too dehydrated, not enough salt, and the edema is there just as the body wants to conserve fat because it thinks it's going to be starved in the future. The body is also storing that water, holding on to it because it's been dehydrated, and it needs that water desperately, just like it needs the energy desperately. So until it trusts that it's going to be hydrated consistently, then it can continue to hold on and retain the water. So actually drinking more water will help your body not retain water. Again, edema is a normal part of the recovery process for a lot of people, so even if you're drinking a lot of water and you're like, why isn't the edema going away? Well, it just is going to take some time. So next is you're managing your stress levels, so working to de-stress. And remember that restricting and starving our bodies and over-exercising and purging, both via mouth and via exercise of purging calories, were all forms of negative stress on the body. Not to mention the insomnia that I formed as a result from dieting and depleting my body to the point where I was not sleeping at all at night. due to the malnourishment itself. So this was a huge stress on the body. Again, like I was saying before, no sleep equals breakouts. So no sleep equals stress. So they go hand in hand. So all kinds of stress can trigger breakouts. So stressful traveling, stressful life events, breakups, financial stress, a death of a family member, the stress of recovery alone, and finding yourself and going through an identity crisis, and seeing your body change, and facing all these fears and these anxieties that we formed as a result of orthorexia and dieting and just anorexia and everything. So try not to stress yourself out even more in recovery by thinking, oh my gosh, now I'm stressed, and then now you stress yourself out because you've been stressed and you shouldn't be stressing, and then this is just insanity. Be easy on yourself and be like, wow, I have been stressed, and that's okay. It makes sense from what I've been through and what I've been putting my body through, so I'm gonna work on this. Okay, I'm not gonna stress myself out to be perfect at this recovery thing. This is the time to be patient with myself in this process. And yeah. But okay, so perhaps the stress that's causing your breakouts is partially due to malnourishment from your restrictive diet and or over-exercising regimes and extreme lifestyles in general. Thinking that eating more kale is going to be healthier for you, so you stress yourself out to eat more kale or chicken or green smoothies, and then you're actually stressing yourself out to not eat unpure foods, and you're actually creating a lot more stress than if you were to just have those unclean foods. Then, so no amount of kale, green smoothies, or chicken is going to make you healthy if you're going to have a heart attack while you're trying to be perfect, right? From the stress of being perfect. So if it's from these extreme lifestyles, which is a diet and lifestyle that is stressful in its nature, and it's stressful on your hormonal system, your metabolism, and everything else, which then causes breakouts. Okay, so another thing is smoking. Okay, smoking or secondhand smoke can also cause breakouts. So tobacco or even cannabis, for some people, they're allergic to the smoke, not even the plant, but also vice versa. But more so, tobacco smoke can cause breakouts. That's more common. And remember, if you quit smoking cigarettes or you quit recently and have been, worse with the breakouts, that is really common as well. So if you smoke cigarettes as an appetite suppressant or a stress reliever or whatever the reason was, this is common as the body is not continually being polluted, and the immune system is not being suppressed by the constant tobacco smoke coming in. So when it gets its strength back after quitting the smoking, you may break out worse, which is just your body trying to purge all of the toxins from the smoke that have been accumulating in your body for months or years. And it may take a while for the system to even get going, to get strengthened enough to even be able to get to those lower suppressed layers in our body. So it might take a while to purge this out. And you don't need to do juice cleanses or fasting to reboot the system, because your body is naturally detoxifying. It's a natural detoxifying machine on its own. And if it wasn't, that would be really scary. And we'd be dead if it wasn't doing that all the time. Okay, so your body is a naturally detoxifying machine with all the organs. And that's one of the purposes of the skin, right? Along with the liver and the kidneys and whatever, which are filters for the body, right? That are constantly cleansing or detoxing the body. So going on a fast or a cleanse will just suppress and screw up your metabolism, and you don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. So another tip is to not wear makeup as often, to let your face breathe, especially those heavy, really heavy, chemically dense type makeups, like products like MAC and stuff. They're really heavy, and yeah, not the best for a lot of skin types, especially if you're acne prone. So if you wear it every single day and never have even one day where your face is breathing, or to get sunlight and vitamin D that is really good for your skin and all around health really, which I don't wear makeup every single day and I do let my face breathe. But I used to wear makeup every single day. And what I even wear, which I'm going to show you later, is not even what I used to wear, like MAC and those kinds of products. It's just one thing that I wear and it's more natural. So, and I only wear it several times a week. Depends on the week too, some more or less depending on what my schedule is, or when I feel like it. Plus I try to get, good quality makeup, like I was saying, with better ingredients, not perfection, but just not the majority of chemicals like Makeup Forever, which can cause like those tiny little bumps on your cheeks and around here, and just those little breakouts all over the face. So if I wear it consistently though, that's when it happens. But I also don't get 100% pure products either. Sometimes I do, but it's not like I have to do this or else that's it, because I'll have a panic attack if I wear anything else. Like, no, it's not like that anymore. Because for one, I haven't really found one that I like really, and I'm not gonna stress that much on finding, the perfect products anymore to wear, to wear makeup, because again, stress. And I chose balance, doing the best that I can without killing myself along the way and having a heart attack from trying to be perfect. So if you're wondering what I like to use, I use Bella Marie liquid foundation and Tarte mascara and eyeliner. They're more conscious with their ingredients. They use oils, it's more natural, but Tarte still has some chemicals, right? But not the highly toxic ones, because your skin is like a sponge and soaks up all the toxins. So our world these days though is already so polluted anyways. So any little conscious choice is good. But any unconscious choice that the stress, if you can't really do it, then don't stress yourself out. You're doing the best that you can. Just remember to not have an all or nothing black and white mindset here. So just find balance where you can and don't stress where you can't. I'll link all this again below. Now, of course, still to this day, I do get minor breakouts, like I was saying, a week before my period is about to start, which is normal though, okay? And I don't mind it. I don't freak out because it's not too bad and it'll go away once I get closer to starting my period. But, working to balance your hormones will definitely help in general. And that's what diet recovery is, just eating and resting and healing your body. That's how you balance your hormones again. You can try different herbs or different creams if you really want, or, like a thyroid glandular, but really make sure to test your hormones if you're really gonna go down that road. But what I've seen, and me personally, I was able to do this, and a lot of other people have been able to do this just from diet recovery alone. So if you need that extra boost, you can look into that, but that could be another rabbit hole that could send you down some places that are unnecessary. So you take that one on your own. So if you don't have your period, or if you're on a diet and you're hungry all the time still, check out my other videos on how to heal these issues, and how to heal hypothalamic amenorrhea, how to balance your hormones, how to heal your metabolism, and you'll see your face start to clear as well. Even if it takes months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, it does happen. Your face will clear though as well. And it may flare up at first. You might get the worst acne of your life, like as if you're going through puberty again. But if you're consistent, it will get better. All right, so now I want to touch on a couple dietary changes that helped with my acne, not yours. So don't get triggered by this, but I want to be 100% authentic here. Okay, I don't want to hide anything from you guys. So I will mention on certain foods that do trigger breakouts, such as oats in specific. So like I've mentioned before, whole grains just do not do good. They're not my friend. With my digestion, I do better with white rice, white bread, like sourdough, that kind of stuff, pearled barley over whole grains. But oats in specific, they do not. My body doesn't like oats at all. And I don't even like the taste of them, so it's not like I'm craving oats and it's like I feel deprived. It's that I already don't like those. So it was an easy thing. It was like a common sense, instinctual thing anyways. So maybe that was my body telling me that it didn't like it, and that's why it was happening. Breakouts are one of these side effects from oats, in particular around my chin and mouth and lip. So, choosing healthier options like whole grain products actually did me a disservice, not only for my skin, but for my digestion as well. So all these health trends, just because they're a health trend, does not mean that these are the healthier options. A lot of people do a lot better on white rice, sourdough bread, these kinds of things. Not a bunch of whole grains. But again, if you do better with the whole grains, then suit yourself. That's on you. Yeah, that's your body. Okay, so it's not this all or nothing thing again. With that said, I don't cut all grains, okay? I eat grains every day, so I don't get all extreme, okay? No, then I'd be depriving myself of grain starch that when I cut them out, I end up binging on them, okay, eventually. So, I don't cut grains, but I found my balance to include whitewash grains such as the white rice, sourdough, white breads like ciabatta or buns or whatever, and other kinds of breads. So this kind of thing, okay, that's my balance. Plus, if that's my only option, I'm not going to have a panic attack or not go out to eat or whatever like I would have done in the past, because I couldn't ever eat those foods. My digestion was just so bad. I had to navigate this myself in the beginning of recovery when I was eating so many foods coming with a weak digestion. My body just reacted in all sorts of ways and breaking out in a rash from my face to my back and chest and stomach to acne breakouts. And so I freaked out and thought that I had to cut everything out again, like the gluten and the sugar and the dairy. But every time I cut those foods out and I would relapse, I ended up binging on them again. So I had to find a way to include these foods, these macronutrients, these sources of food, these specific sources, so I could recover and eventually get to a point where I could truly see if the reactions were just part of my recovery or if some were real. So I waited months and months and stuck with it, even when it was uncomfortable, and I committed in recovery, and of course the rashes and the breakouts did die down. And I wasn't eating whole grains at that point anyways, because they just made me so bloated, and because of my weakened digestion from starvation and dieting. Once I decided to try oats again and whole grains, the pimples came back and they stayed there. And I tried to stick with them for months to see if, they went away, but they just caused all sorts of problems outside of breaking out that I just couldn't ignore. My biofeedback at that point and my intuition and my instincts that said that my body did not like oats, and I was eating them because I thought that I should, or that I needed to, because to be healthy. But this was going against my gut feeling and my body, and I had to let this go and embrace this part of my balance, being that I do best with whitewashed grains. And this way I don't feel deprived, I don't binge, and my body is happy and healthy and not bloated and breaking out. So, okay, enough of that tangent. I just don't want anyone confused or triggered with me saying this, because I know a lot of people that do fine with whole grains, or so they say. No, I'm just kidding. So the key is to not go extreme with this, okay? If you're thinking, oh shit, I'm gonna now have to go on an elimination diet and, cut out this food and cut out that food and, blah, 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 and make this list and this food group and that food family and, go down the rabbit hole of, food maps and gaps and low oxalates and no nightshades and no gluten and no dairy and no soy or no peanuts or anything, that I love. Like, no, okay, typically you just pay attention, not too close attention to where you become obsessive and hyper-focused and preoccupied 24/7 with food or your lifestyle and your body, these changes, or being a germaphobe and, guilting yourself when, you had a fun night out, or you forgot to wash your face the night before, you didn't change the pillow in time. Now you're just creating negative stress, and you can perhaps perpetuate the cycle. So just be mindful and let go of the fear and the guilt and just be patient with yourself and your body and your skin. Okay, since it's no verbal communication between us and the mind and the body, it's going to take time and effort and patience to learn to listen to the body again, what that even feels like anymore. It's just like my uncle who just like, he can eat everything and he's not a restrictive eating disorder person, but he hates onions, his body rejects them, so he doesn't eat onions. But does that mean he has an eating disorder if he's gonna go on an elimination diet? Like, no, he just knows onions are not the food to eat, right? Onions and garlic. So for me, it's oats. So when paying attention to see if one or two foods triggers like a hardcore breakout, not just like one pimple here and there and you overthink it and you're like, it must be that food because see, like, I got this pimple and it probably wasn't even due to that food. You're just being hyper focused and reactive and like you're overthinking things. So it's just that one pimple here and there. Then make note, try to tweak with those foods you suspect. Make sure you're not depriving yourself and, going to end up binging. Because, for example, for me, not eating oats and nuts is a-okay for me because, I've never liked them, okay? Like, even as a kid, no. I forced myself to eat them in my clean eating days, and I was so deprived and malnourished and, starving that they did taste good to me for a while in recovery because my body would take anything and everything, especially calorically and energy dense foods like nuts and nut butters. But if I'm truly honest with my intuitive, like my instinctual self, I find that the foods like that really gross me out and are not pleasantly tasting to me. I don't like it anymore. Like, it just came to this point where I was like, I don't want that anymore, even though I used to binge on jars of peanut butter and almond butter. Like, now it's just like, it's back to normal and I'm like, they're just not what I'm drawn to. And so it's these ones that are not pleasantly tasting to me. These are the same ones that provoke the skin issues, okay? And it's not many foods, okay? Maybe it's like 2 or 3 tops, okay? Like the oats and some nuts. Try to look back into your childhood, okay? Were there foods that you were always repelled by and, still could do without, but are shoulding yourself on, what you should eat because you've been told that you should eat those, or, you have to because they're healthy, or, they're on a good foods list. Just consider this. So, like tomatoes. I hate tomatoes. It's not because I'm on a no nightshade diet. It's because I've always hated tomatoes. My dad hates tomatoes. My uncle hates tomatoes. I hate tomatoes. But I love salsa and I love ketchup. I don't know. So why am I explaining all this and spending so much time on this? Because I don't want extremeness here, but this is part of finding your balance, getting in touch with yourself again. So now with all of this that I've said, I have to mention on above all, recovering and going through diet recovery and resting and, finding my own balance, finding your own balanced diet that includes everything that I like and that you like, and not much of what I don't like or you don't like, with not dieting, not restricting, not cutting out foods that I love or whole food groups. That was key. So I eat all the foods that I was told to cut to clear my acne, all in which brought nothing, no clarity in my skin, but rather only sucked me down into a dark hole of misery, binge eating, feeling deprived, unsatisfied. So I found what truly works and what does not, and I could have prevented a lot of heartache and suffering if I hadn't have tried all the fad diets and cleanses out there, but whatever. It was all a part of the learning journey, the learning lessons that I needed, and I wouldn't be here today with Damn the Diets if I didn't go through it. Okay, so lastly, what is my current skincare routine? It's really simple actually, and I found this to work along with everything else that I've mentioned earlier, okay? It's not just one thing, it's everything combined. For a long time, I used a bar soap, like a super fatty, dense soap, not a drying soap like Dove or something, which has like shea butter, coffee, coconut oil, saponified coconut oil and olive oil and castor oil and, you know, lavender oil and that kind of stuff. But I also have Noxema. So this is actually, Chad turned me onto this, my fiance, the Manpanion, and it's like what his grandma used to use, and it's just really a simple ingredient type facial cleanser that smells like eucalyptus, and it's great. I've been loving that lately for the past several months, but if I wasn't using the Noxema, then I would be using a good quality bar soap. And I want to note on this real quick, I tried the oil cleansing method with no luck. Okay, it made my skin just worse, but I do amazing with high quality like bar soap or Noxema. The logic behind the oil cleansing method is that like attracts like, so the oil will cleanse the oils and dirt in your skin, and yeah, that makes sense, chemistry speaking, but it didn't work, and it doesn't work for a lot of people. So why does the bar soap work? Well, okay, so my logic is that bar soap is oils like coconut oil, olive oil, hemp oil, shea butter, castor oil, whatever. That's the ingredients. But the difference is they're saponified oils with the lye. So this is the key difference, that the oil cleansing effects are like night and day. So I don't know, you could try this out and find a good quality bar soap. Be careful because some bar soaps can be very stripping and drying, and that's not good either. The soaps that are just literally just oils and lye and extra oils, like the extra fatty oils, rather than a lot of chemicals, will be not so drying and stripping. And even at Whole Foods, I found some of the most drying soaps compared to Dove, and that's not good. Okay, so I wash off my makeup for the day with a wet wash rag, and I take off my mascara with coconut oil and a wet cotton ball or wet cotton pad, and then I apply the Noxema or the bar soap on my facial brush and I scrub it up dub. I just recently started using witch hazel as a toner, but for the longest time I didn't use toners at all, but I have been liking the witch hazel, and I use that after the cleanser. So I don't spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month on treatments, on facial peels, on these subscriptions to face washes and toners and moisturizers and chemical peels and masks and whatever, like Proactive or Clinique, like I used to use, because I used to use all of that stuff and I just would be always breaking out. And I found that the most simplest skin cleansing regimes gave me the best results. All those expensive things for me just made me always be breaking out. Especially using them twice a day, that did not work for my skin. So after the witch hazel, I simply use either vitamin E oil as the moisturizer, or I used to use coconut oil, but I found that was pretty drying for my skin, but it didn't make me break out. And so recently I've been using this mixture of jojoba oil, almond oil, and aloe vera, and that's been amazing. I've been really loving that on my skin. It's like I don't feel any amount of dryness, hasn't broken me out, and it just feels so hydrating and amazing. And then in the morning, I simply just wash my face with water, dry it off, use the witch hazel again, and I put that oil again on my face. So I've heard mixed results with the coconut oil not being good or being good, but it did work for me in the past, except as far as acne goes, but it was just too drying, and I began using this mixed oil blend with aloe juice. It's great. If you use this skincare regime and it doesn't work, don't blame it on me. I'm just sharing what I've been using for years. And yeah, grapeseed oil is also really good for the skin. And if you're wondering what skin type I have a mixture of combination oily, and I'm in a dry environment in Southern California, near the desert, near Palm Springs. So yeah, so overall, that's mostly what I have to say right now. There's so much more to it, especially because we're all unique. But these are a lot of the best recommendations that I could give right now. I found that simplicity has been the best thing for my skin, along with not doing all these crazy elimination diets. Again, I eat all of the foods that I was told to cut: dairy, gluten, sugar, processed foods, even, fruits. Just like all the foods that I love. And I've had the best skin that I've ever had in my life. I hope that this video has helped you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have something that has really helped your skin, please do share. Thank you for watching. Thanks for spending your time here with me. I really do appreciate it. Your support on this channel means the world. So that's all for now. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.